Welcome, welcome, my fabulous fempreneurs. I am here today with Jenny Watz, and she's going to tell you something that you may not have realized, and that is that you have a story. And people, especially those clients that are looking for you and needing you, they need to hear your story. And this is a way not only to boost your business and your street cred, but just show everyone what a badass entrepreneur you really are. So, welcome, welcome, Jenny Watts.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, yes. And so you coined that phrase, the badass entrepreneur. Why?
Yes, badass entrepreneurs, that is who I work with. I coined that phrase because the people that I do work with and the people who I want to work with are truly badasses. They
Mm.
are entrepreneurs, business owners who are moving the needle, who are moving their business forward, who are making a difference in the world. And those are the people that I love to work with. So, I mean, you know, to make a difference in the world, that's a pretty badass thing to do. So I love to help people amplify that voice.
Yeah, and I liked the way you say that and coming straight out of the gate, calling them badasses because what I find is these people don't even realize it. I mean, years of having impact and changing lives, and they have not owned it. They still feel
Mhm.
kind of amateur or feel kind of small.
Right.
How do you help them get out of that kind of, okay, I need to be humble and just own their badassness?
Yeah. So what I like to do is, just really talk to them, kind of like we're doing now, right? It's
Mm,
conversational, but help them see that what they're doing is making a difference. We do all of these little things throughout the day that we don't even really realize we're doing because we're just so used to doing it. Like, the little extra things that we do for our clients, maybe like, you send them a birthday card or just something little like that. But all of those little things add up, and it culminates into something really great and a better, just a better vibe for the world, really. So I like to tell people when they approach me, they're like, well, I don't think I have enough information to write a book, or I don't know enough, or, certainly what I have to say can be said in, 2 pages and not 200 pages, and I like to remind people that, you always hear the phrase, you don't know what you don't know. But I like to say, you don't know what you do know. And that is, we take for granted the knowledge that we have.
interesting.
Yeah.
And you remind me that when I work with people, when I in previously when I was working with professionals and getting their resumes together, it's like there's so much stuff. Okay, and I can also say guilty as charged. There's so much stuff that I do, and then you move on to the next thing, or other stuff comes up, and you forgot that you
Right.
did that in your life.
Right.
So yeah, maybe we could talk about my book because I've lived in 5 countries now, so that could be probably material for a book. But
Absolutely.
an entrepreneur, like a person who's so maybe technical, this is what I do. How do they draw a story out of that enough to write a book?
Writing a book is more than just telling people, you know, here's how to do things. Here's step one, step two, step three. And, we all have processes that we work with in our business and to get our jobs done, whatever we do. Um, but it's really about telling stories. And when you think about, the world from, one way back. Everything is built on a story. Everything is a story. So, we are conditioned to listen to stories. We are conditioned to interpret things through story. And writing a book is about taking your reader on a journey. You know, you want to get them from point A to point B. And, you know, point A is the story of where they're at now and the problem that they have. You know, and point B, the destination is how you can solve the problem and your call to action and how you're helping your reader identify that you have the solution to their problem. But along the way, you take them, I like to really envision it as a roadmap, but not like your GPS in the car, but like an old fashioned like paper, roadmap that's unfold, right? And you can never fold back up, right? Um, it's one of those, and there's little landmarks along the way, places you want to stop and just get out and stretch your legs, and those are little points in your book that I like to help people to create for the reader, because it's a place for the reader then to stop and reflect on what you've been telling them and kind of look at it as, how can I apply this to my life, to my story? And you're helping the reader really resonate with what you're saying. So it's it's as much about the journey as it is about the destiny.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So, what I'm learning from you is that a lot of what we learn in marketing, in our short messages and maybe our posts on social media, is incorporated in writing this book. And then when you are able to give somebody an example or a story about the journey, then they can start to see themselves in that picture and it begins to resonate with them. That's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 100%, 100% the case. It's marketing, and a lot of what I find too is people will come to me with an idea for a book, um, but it's either too vague or too specific. And there's a balance that needs to be um, achieved in
Mm,
writing a book. We have a lot of knowledge, and we can write about all kinds of different things. It's choosing the right topic for your audience at that time.
okay.
So yeah, so I help them really kind of dial in what their messaging should be. And they'll come to me and they want to like talk about everything that they do, and they want to put everything in the book, including the kitchen sink, all of that stuff. And that's just going to overwhelm your reader, right? You need to keep, and again, it goes back to marketing, 1 to 3 points. Just kind of keep it simple, but really focus on your main message and kind of build it from there. Um,
Wonderful, wonderful.
yeah.
Keep it simple and have a purpose. Writing with a purpose is, I read a lot of books. I love a lot of books, but not everybody writes with a purpose other than to say that they've written a book. So getting back down to the core of your business, your brand, and also helping you to create a foundation to attract new clients, you said.
Right.
All right, so tell me, how did you get started in this industry?
How did I get started? I have spent my entire career in communications,
Mm,
everything from, as we talked about, broadcast. I worked at a TV station, uh, and I've worked at ad agencies and public relations firms. I've worked in corporate America for a financial institution in their corporate communications department, and I like to call it the longest 8 months of my life. Um, uh, I've also worked for an association management company. Um, so uh, a lot of my experience, however, is in food and agriculture industries.
okay.
Uh, I've spent 15 years working with clients in that industry, and what I learned to do with them is to take really complex information and turn it into relatable content for everyday people. Um, I worked with a lot of like scientists, PhD, like academics
Mm,
who, were researchers in crop production or pesticides and like things like that, right? And so they write something and it's all gibberish. You're like, what is this? Like no one will understand this unless they also have a PhD. Um, So I help them, and a lot of people say, "Oh, you got to dumb it down." I don't like that phrase at all.
Yeah.
Um, no, we don't need to dumb anything down. People aren't dumb; they just need to be able to relate to what we're saying. So we just need to make it relatable. We're not dumbing it down; we're making it relatable. So that's a really core difference that I. That's Yeah, that phrase is kind of like nails on a chalkboard to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, I never really realized how irritated it makes me, but it really does irritate me. Um, so yeah, you have to make it relatable. And so I learned to take, geek speak and turn it into stuff that consumers would actually be able to read and understand why farmers do the types of things that they do, how their food is grown, all of that kind of stuff. Um, and then I actually found myself laid off,
Mm,
and I really did not know where to go. And I um, I realized how much my self-worth was tied to what I did for a living.
okay.
And that really kind of bothered me. And I looked for another job for a while, and it was, uh, you know, I don't have the right kind of experience. I have too much experience, and this, blah, 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 ad nauseum. And so I finally decided, because I'm a badass, I'm just going to hire myself. So, so that is what I did. And I've always loved uh, words and reading and books.
Mm,
And I've always been the person at the office who, before you send that out, let Jenny see it, to make sure it's, all good to go. So I started focusing on editing, and I started working with independent authors and helping them edit their manuscripts, their book manuscripts, before they published them. And um, and then I started ghostwriting from there. And what I realized in doing both of those things was that one of the main things people had trouble with, whether they were uh, a doctor or a fiction writer or a self-help guru, is that they didn't know how to say what they wanted to say. It's
mm,
a common theme. They just don't know how to convey their message.
mhm.
So I started book coaching to really help people draw that out, because that was the common thing that I saw people do. So that was a really long answer to your question.
No, but it was thorough, and I like the journey that you just took us on. I think when you talked about corporate and how you were laid off and then you had to find yourself, and I just want to congratulate you on finding yourself and skipping to the head of the class, saying, I'm going to hire myself. I'm going to do something that I love and I'm passionate about, and you went and you got the tools and you learned and you worked your way up in that particular industry. One of the things that also stood out to me is that you said these people, no matter who they are, even if they're writers, they don't know how to say what they want to say. And I get that because when it's you who you're writing about, you get in your own head,
Right.
maybe 10,000 things are downloading and coming across your mind at the same time. How do you filter that out? And there are very few people that come alongside you and literally what you're doing, taking them by the hand and saying, hey, this is what we need and this is what we don't need. And, just breathe. It'll get there.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, what a lot of people tend to do is that they just spend years trying to squeak it out by themselves, then send it over to the editor, and then find out maybe half of it's not usable. Have to go back to the drawing board.
That's a perfect segue into a client I recently worked with, um, who uh, who I want to mention. So this person is actually an organizational management consultant. Now, I
Mm.
don't even really know what that means, but that's what he does for a living. And he wrote a book, and he wrote the whole draft and then sent it to me. and it needed help. Um, it had 57 chapters. No one will read a book with 57 chapters.
I tried to read War and Peace. I even took it on a vacation. Didn't
That's
happen.
not a vacation book.
Oh, yeah, actually, I bought it in the airport. That's why it was in my suitcase.
Oh,
57 chapters.
right, for a business book. A business book is meant to, uh, help people identify their problem and
Mm,
recognize that you have a solution, right? They're not going to waste 57 chapters figuring that out.
mm.
Um, so, it's kind of like herding cats, is how I, kind of like to describe it. They're kind of all of your thoughts are everywhere. They're running every direction and you don't know what to do. Um, so, you have to corral them. So we had to corral all of these 57 chapters. And what we discovered in the process of doing that is that, you don't need that many cats. Um, you don't need that many chapters. And honestly, a lot of his ideas were repetitive. And
Mm.
um, he, he actually broke down like each step in every process that he did was a different chapter. And it didn't need to be that way. There are a lot of symmetries and a lot of things that could be combined and woven into a way that made a better story than 57 chapters. So we worked together and we were able to, whittle it down to 12 chapters. And it was a cohesive read. And that book um, resulted in him landing a 5-figure consulting contract and 3 speaking gigs.
A 550?
5-figure.
Five figure.
So,
Oh.
$10,000 plus, consulting contract, and 3 different speaking gigs. And the thing about that is, like, they approached him because they read his book. So
Mhm.
so your book can actually do a lot of the legwork for you in your
Yeah.
marketing.
Let's
Yeah,
talk more about that.
yeah. It's an evergreen asset, really, because it will last forever, right?
Mhm.
And so it's out there. And I mean, obviously you need to market your book. I've worked with, like I said, a lot of independent, self-published authors and like, well, nobody's buying my book. That's because no one knows it exists. Okay. Like you have to do some marketing for your book, but it can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. It can serve as a beacon and attract those clients to you. And in, that particular client's case, these 3 speaking gigs that he landed, that's, you have to consider that, those are kind of speaking opportunities in front of warm audiences
Mhm.
because the people that approached him to do the speaking gig. I'm sorry if you hear my dog barking in the background. I've locked
Okay.
her out of my office and that's as much as I can do. um, um, but they read the book and they thought that you had something important for their audience to hear, so it's already kind of a warmed up audience for you. And that's the only thing better than a warm lead is a hot lead. So it's
And it's hitting me as you talk about it. Maybe some people are new to the terminology of warm leads, but
Mhm.
when someone looks at your like this YouTube video and they kind of get to know a little bit about you and they decide, oh, I really think I want to work with that person or they have what I'm looking for. But if they've read your book, I mean, there's
Right.
so
They
much in
already,
there.
yeah, they already are familiar with your message. They already like what you had to say, and they want to hear more. And that's what a warm lead is. Someone who is, you're kind of nurturing them. It's like, oh, hi, let's have a conversation. The book is the conversation. They're like, I
Mhm.
like this. I'd like to have another conversation.
Mhm.
I'd like to know more. Whether that's, working with you directly or inviting you to be a speaker or, any number of things, inviting you on a podcast interview or a media interview. There's a lot of different opportunities that can happen as a result of writing a business book, and that's what I love to help badass entrepreneurs do is to capitalize on that opportunity that a book will give you, and help them leverage their expertise. Like your business helps empowering fempreneurs to courageously voice and use their voice courageously and resonate globally, and that is what a book does. Um, so that I think we're kind of similar in that we want to we want to raise their voices up.
And what I like about this is that you are touching lives and having impact on people that you haven't even met, and you have no idea that they're reading your book at some faraway part of the world, and it's like they come to you and they kind of know you because of what you've expressed in this book, and they just want to get to know you more.
Absolutely, yeah.
So one of the things I would ask is, how does this work for coaches? Let's say, because I work with and I speak to a lot of coaches who
Mhm,
are in the industry of just helping people.
mhm.
Where do they start? Where would they start with you? Um,
With
Sometimes
writing.
they don't even see themselves as entrepreneurs, they just see themselves as helpers. Where would they start to build their book?
It honestly starts with an idea,
Mm.
and it can be as simple as, maybe you're at, Thanksgiving dinner, and your relative says, when are you going to write that book? Like, somebody's probably told you in the past that you should write a book. Um, I'm not saying you have to listen to everybody, but, if some people are telling you that and you've had that little thought in your head once or twice, then maybe you should write a book. Um, and it starts with an idea, and like I said, in my previous examples, a lot of people like to put everything they know into a book, and you don't really have to do that. It's just one idea. So let's say you have a signature program. You're a helper, you help people, you don't really see yourself as an entrepreneur, but you're a coach. You help people. I'm just going to use some example. You help people with
Massage? I don't know why that's.
you help people lose weight. Okay, you help
Okay,
people lose weight.
okay, okay.
A lot of people do that, but there are different ways to do that. So you have to identify, and again, we're going back to marketing, your USP, your unique selling proposition. What do you do differently that helps you stand out? And if you don't know what you do differently, you should identify that, because I guarantee you that you do something differently.
Mm.
Um, and that is really what you need to focus on. And instead of giving someone in your book the entire program or process that you take them through, just pick one thing. Pick one or maybe two things that they can do to see a transformation quickly. And if they do that, say, just start, I don't know, start by eating 3 servings of vegetables a day. I mean, I'm really simplifying this, but
Yeah.
you kind of get the point. um just something simple that they can do, that once they implement that, they'll see a little change, right? And that helps them kind of get the ball rolling and think, hey, she knew what she was talking about. I think I want more, you know? Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, so you don't have to put everything in your book, your entire process. Having said that, you can. And I say that you can, but I don't want to give everything away. I don't want to give away my secret sauce. Here's the thing, and I think we can all relate to this, is you can give people the information. You can send them to school, buy them the books. They can read the books. Most of them won't implement it. They're going to read everything and then come to you anyway, right? So you
Mm.
can still give them all of the information. They're probably still going to contact because people, a lot of people aren't that mm, ambitious, I guess. They're not that brave. They want more guidance than
Mm.
do it yourself kind of thing. So they think they want to do it yourself until they have to do it themselves.
It's a brilliant way of putting it. Well,
Just human nature, and I'm guilty. So I'm not.
you've given us some tidbits of the sauce that you're cooking with, and this definitely, I'm sure, going to entice some of our listeners to want to learn more about you and how they can work with you. So as I thank you and start to wrap this up, I just want to introduce the sign behind you. I had a good laugh when we came on camera.
Yes, maybe swearing will help. The only thing that I would change about that sign is I would eliminate the word maybe.
Yes, well, sometimes you just got to be a badass and do what you got to do. And if you feel it in your heart that there's a book out there that you need to write and that's going to help people and bring more clients to you, this is the lady that you need to speak to. So I want to thank you, Jenny, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun, and yeah, I'm looking forward to continue our conversation and to helping out your badass fempreneurs that you work with.
Thank you.